Welcome CSC 103 to the extra credit portion of EX9 for our Python test scores. And I'm in my Replit account right now, and I'm looking at my repels, if that's how they're pronounced. And I'm going to go into my CSC 103 folder. And the last thing I did was this one, which was the second one. Even though it says 1, that was the forked copy. So I'm going to click on that first, and I'm going to fork it again. And I'm going to change the name of this one. We can use some of the stuff here, so this won't take long at all. But I'm going to go here to my drop down, and I'm going to click on the fork button, and it'll give it a name 2 right away. If you go back, if you want to change it, if you don't like it being 2, if you want to put like EC for extra credit or put XC for extra credit, anything like that is fine. Whatever you do, just so you know it's different. So that's a different one there, and just hit enter. So this will be a different one now, and make sure it's connected. And what we're going to do here, instead of just averaging up percentages, since that's not very realistic to just throw in percentages, we usually do a point system. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up something that says possible points, and I'll just call them pos points. And where I'm getting this stuff from is from here. Now you can use different variables if you want. You don't have to use pos points, but that makes sense. So even though it's a little longer, I mean, you could put pp if you know that means pos points, but I'm going to put pos points and earn points, and then I'll shorten it later just so I know what they mean. So first of all, I'll go here to pos points, and I'll just make like 5 to start. So I'll just put like a 10, 10, 15, 20, 10, 30. And how many is that? 1, and actually I got that one wrong, so that should be 10. So there's 6. Let's go with 6, even though I have 5 on the sheet. We'll go with 6 here. And we have a list with possible points, and I'll just call it possible points, since I have a comment there already, and I'll just copy this. Now don't worry about all those red wavy lines. That's because our variables are getting messed up, but that's okay. We're going to fix that. And I'll do this. Let's see. I'll close up my file so I have some more room here, and I'll even move this over. And then this will be earned points. That means whatever you got on it. And we have to kind of match them up here. So let's say we got a 9 out of 10, we got an 8 out of 10, we got 11 out of 15, 15 out of 20, then a 10 out of 10, and maybe a 24 out of 30. So those are kind of grades. I'm not sure what they are, but I just threw them in there. So let's see how we do with those particular 6 grades. So we have 6 possible points, 6 earned points, and we're going to try to keep these the same. So when we figure out a length of these, we could just do the length of the possible points. So this one here, we're just going to change this to be, where it has num tests, we'll just change it to be num pp, since that's right here. We'll call it num pp, that's num possible points. And then we're going to have a sum here. Now, we're going to sum up 2 things. We're going to sum up the possible points, and we're going to sum up the earned points and then divide them. And remember that you always divide the big one into the little one. So we'll do sum pp. Now we have to change this here, and then I'll copy this. And I'll go through of how I'm coming up with this as well. And this will be sum EP. And I'm doing that in order because we have possible points, earned points. So we have the number of the possible points, the sum of the possible points, and then we have the sum of the EP. Now, this isn't going to be tests in here. This is going to be the length of pos points. We have to use the full variable name. And then the sum of possible points also is going to be that. So if I go in here, let's see if we could do this. If we start typing pos points, no, it's not coming up. Sometimes it helps you with some of these variables here, or you could copy and paste it. If you don't feel like typing it, you could go over here, copy earned points, and just paste that in there so we know that's going to be earned points. So we're summing up the possible points, we're summing up the earned points, and then we also want to know how many. Now, it's not as crucial we know how many because we're not really doing an average other than we're coming up with a final grade. So even the fact that this says average, I guess that's okay, but it's really going to be our score. It's not really an average. So we might just want to change it to, score or something. That might make more sense. Even though I don't have that in the notes, I still have it the old way, but I'll put in score because that may make more sense than we're actually averaging things together. I'll put score here, or you could put PCT for percent or something like that, but I'll put score. All right, so what we're doing here is we're getting the possible points, we're getting the earned points, and I'm even going to cut this and put this at the end because this isn't as important as getting the sum. Getting the sum is the most important thing because we're basically going to divide the sum of the earned points, sum EP, by the sum of PP. So we're going to divide them up. So the larger one always goes into the smaller one. That's going to get our percentage. So that's going to get our percent. And also we're going to have to multiply this by 100. But let's just wait on that till we see what happens here because it's going to be a decimal that comes out of here. So we'll just wait until we do that. And we can stick with our same output print statement here. It's still going to say the average of or I could even change it to the score, that might work better, of num test. That's why we're keeping the num here. We're still going to keep num pos points up here. So we could still do that, but except we don't have num tests anymore. It's called num pp. So I'll call it num pp. The score of num pp tests, which is fine. Maybe you could call it assignments since maybe they're not all tests. The score of numpy assignments is, and this isn't going to be average anymore, this is going to be score, since I changed that, although there was nothing wrong with having average there. And we're not getting any red wavy lines, so that's okay. Sometimes it's nice to try it out with just a couple numbers to know that it's okay, that you're getting the right percentage. You know, if you did, 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10, and you had 2 of them, and it came out to a 90, then you would know you were doing it right. With all these, you're not so sure. But let's try this out. Now, again, we don't have to save. It'll do an autosave for us. And I guess I'll just run it right now and see what we get. See if we get any errors. The score of 6 assignments is 0.8%. So it is counting that there's 6 assignments because it's using the numpy. That's where this numpy is coming from. It's counting up the possible points up there. So even if you threw in too many points, even if you threw in like 30 or something, all that it's going to do is give you like extra credit or something, because it won't change the number. It'll still say out of that many assignments. So maybe you got 105% out of the 6 assignments. So that's correct. It's using the 6 assignments, but it's saying 0.8. Now, all you have to do to change that is just take this score here and just multiply by 100. Now, by order of operations, because when you have division and multiplication and it goes left to right, you don't have to put this in parentheses. It'll do this first. Now, if you had addition that you had to do first, then you might have to put it in parentheses, but you don't here. And I'll put auto format to see what it does here. And it puts spaces between all these things here. And something odd happened here when I did that. It's putting weird colors in here. I'm not sure why that's doing that. Let me refresh it. Okay, now it's connected, and now it's okay. So obviously there was some issue. If you ever get some weird things in Replit, try refreshing it first, because if everything looks okay and you're like, I don't know why that's doing that, it could just be some little delay or glitch or something. So sometimes I'll refresh it. So that's the way it should look. All the integers should be green. All the comments should be gray with the pound sign. So everything looks okay here. So let's try it one more time. And it says the score of 6 assignments is 81.1%, and that's good. And let's just throw another one here. Let's throw an exam on here, 50. And I'll throw another, you got 38 out of 50. And let's see how that affects your score. Now you got a 79. It took you down because that's a bigger test, bigger number of points, and you kind of went down on here. So it's a 79.3, but at least you know how close you are to that. That's having that extra little decimal place helps. So that's all you really have to do for this extra credit. Just giving it a little different approach instead of just averaging together averages, which isn't very realistic. This way we're actually putting in possible points, putting in earned points. Now, even better, what we do in the programming class is we do something where we can use an input and we can enter the grades. We can enter possible points and we can enter earned points. Here we're just putting them in a list, but that's okay. Just as long as we follow what's going on here. We're getting the total of these, which is here. We're getting the total of these, which is here. And then we're just getting the length. And the only thing we're doing with the length is just throwing it here so you know you had that many assignments. So I think that's all you have to do with this extra credit part. Again, not that difficult, especially if you've worked with programming at all, but at least another step beyond what we did in the first one. And once you're done here, you could just share it. Again, you could copy this. And then when you go back into my Warren, you're going to go into coursework and you're going to go find the test scores. Now you might have already put a comment in there. You can either add a second comment. Actually, that's the best thing. Just add a second comment and insert your link and paste that and just put new window, and I'll hit OK and I'll hit save. And if you want to put in something like it's extra credit, but I'll be able to see that you have something in there. If it has 2 there, I'll check it out. So, and if you need some extra points, you'd rather do this than do something else, or you didn't do well in a quiz, that's fine. So that's the extra credit for exercise 9.